Hey everyone, it's Sun Types, and Abyssai has been out for a little while now in Japan, and today we're going to be taking a look at the metagame, specifically at a tier list. This is not a subjective tier list, other than I suppose what exactly every deck is I guess a little subjective. But this is an objective list of what decks are being the most played, and today we're taking a look at that. We have the first week and then the second week here, looking at the Abyssai environment as it's called here, or this first week is actually just a few days, but then the second week is about a full week. I'm recording this on the 30th, so I'm not sure if this second week has been fully completed at this point or not. I don't think it has, but anyways, we have the tier list or like the metagame here of the Abyssai format. And Abyssai, if you're not familiar at all, it is the same as Pitch Black internationally. Abyssai is the Japanese set, but it features some different things, unsurprisingly, based on the name Abyssai or Pitch Black. It's focused on some darkness stuff, I suppose. Looking at the metagame, we'll take a look at some deck lists. I don't think there are too many being universal cards. When we look at the most recent expansions, we see Chaos Rising, Perfect Order, Ascended Heroes. These all had like one big card in them. You saw uh what's it, special red card. I keep wanting to say it's a stamp card. It goes alongside unfair stamp, but special red card there. You also have Meowth EX from Perfect Order, and you have a Pokepad from, I guess, Ascended Heroes. It's also in Perfect Order, but have those cards. Those are all super good. I suppose Pokepad is like better than the others by a little bit, I would say, by a substantial amount there. But Abyssai doesn't really have something quite at that level. I do think the supporter card Gwen is pretty good, but I would say it's probably worse than all those other cards. I would also say that, at least in my opinion so far, and I'd love to hear people's thoughts in the comment section on this, but Meowth EX and Special Red Card have been a little mediocre so far. They've certainly been played, but I haven't really been playing with them too much. I've been like, with Meowth EX, that's obviously been around longer. I certainly see people play, and I played with it some, and it's fine, but feels like a lot of the time it's just not super good because it's a big liability specifically. And then also related to that, special red card feels okay, but I haven't played with it too much, I don't think. And I played against it a little bit and like been hit by it, and it's been fine for me. So overall, I'd say those cards have been a little disappointing, not bad, but just a little underwhelming there compared to where they were maybe projected at. But certainly they're good cards, and I would say they're probably still going to be end up being better than Gwen, which is a good draw supporter in my opinion, which we'll probably see some of this video. I'm not going to be looking too much at deck lists, as I said, but I'm going to look at them some here. Mostly looking at the metagame and the main card there. Obviously, we see Dragapult EX at the top here. This is on PokeCow Book here. That's the website. People like always ask, especially when it's PokeCow Book. They just always ask, and I usually say it. But there are some different builds of Dragapult, as you can kind of see here, and they're kind of the stuff that you're relatively used to, I imagine, there. And with Dragapult, it's just good. Obviously, I don't think that's shocking anyone. I've heard a few people say that they think that there's a new deck we're going to talk about called, I'll probably refer to it as Ghost Veil. Maybe, I think Phantom Hide's another one. It's the one with Delmise. And that deck is good against Dragapult. I don't think it's going to push Dragapult out of the metagame or anything like that. And Dragapult is about, I think, as played as it was before the new set came out. Let me take a quick look here. Looking at the format, I believe this is Perfect Order. It looks about the same. And looking at Chaos Rising, again, it looks about the same. Dragapult's a little lower. Also, I will say, and this regard is in regards to all of the new decks, specifically looking at the Mega Extral deck and the Phantom Hide deck there, or the Ghost Veil deck. Those decks are new, and new decks tend to be played a little more than they probably are worth there, but they are still worth noting that they are played a lot, and that is definitely a sign of something there. We were going to talk about Mega Excadrill soon, which I, spoiler, think is kind of bad, but Dragapult is obviously very good. Not going to spend too much time on it. Looks like it's not really playing any new cards, I don't think, in these four lists here. Let me, as I zoom in, that didn't zoom in too much, but you see no new cards in them. I do think the supporter card Gwen could go into Dragapult EX, specifically if you're playing some other single prizer, which I guess all the builds are running some other single prizers in at least, like, I'd say 4 copies of another single prizer there. You're looking at, 12 out, something more, I guess. You got like 2 Badoos here, 2 Monkey Doors, you got a 1/1 Dunsparce, you got the 4 Jeepers, 4 Dracloaks. That is, I believe, 14, I think. So that's a decent amount of outs for Gwen. It discards non-rulebox Pokemon from your hand, and then you draw 3 free cards discarded. It just goes up to 2, so up to 6 cards to draw there. It's a decent supporter. I also am a big proponent of Night Stretcher. I think that card's underrated, not broken. Actually, what am I talking about? We see new cards in this list. I'm literally staring at new cards right here. We don't see any new cards in this list, or this list, but we do see some in this one here. So these are some cards. I don't think they're staples, and I don't think they're as good as Gwen. I do believe that Gwen is the best card in this set, maybe with the exception of the Fossil Stadium and the Lightning Special Energy, like in a vacuum. But I think in context, they're not going to be super good. But Rust Syndicate Grunt is a supporter card that is pretty universal. You can only use it if you were knocked out last turn, but then you just couldn't energy from your opponent's Pokemon. Discarding energy obviously can be very good. We see Crushing Hammer in some Dragapult builds, which I don't like Crushing Hammer. Not because it's bad, though I don't think it's super good, I guess, but it's so annoying to play with, so annoying to play against, and I just don't like it. But Rust Syndicate Grunt is consistent. This is, when you're available to get hit by it. You know what's going to happen if you play it, right? So this card is a solid disruption card here. Speaking of solid disruption, and I guess not knowing what's going to happen, you have Dark Bell, which confuses both active Pokemon. Of course, you can generally retreat pretty easily most of the time, which gets you out of it, but means you can also set up your opponent to get confused a lot of the time as well. This can buy you time, and so Dark Bell and Rust Syndicate Grunt are new disruptive cards, which I think help out Dragapult a little. We see them here. I don't think they really hurt it too much. I guess Rust Syndicate Grunt probably hurts Dragapult some, to be honest, but they are definitely cards that are worth noting, that are new, but I don't think they're super meta changing. And, we've seen cards like Meowth EX and, there's other cards I was talking about that are newer, powerful cards that haven't really changed the meta game too much, I wouldn't say. I suppose Special Red Card just hurt Alakazam? I guess. I don't know. I don't think Alakazam's that good, to be honest, but it's not terrible. Obviously, Dragapult, though, is still on top, and that shouldn't really surprise anyone there. Then we have the next deck, which is Ends, apparently. I guess this is this tier list here that we're looking at. And we see Ends. Ends is playing. We see Dark Bell. This doesn't confuse Darkness Pokemon, so that's kind of good for Ends there. We see Sorosix. Okay, well, anyways. Then we see the new special energy as well. It protects you from bench damage, but it's damage. It's not damage counters, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, it's damage done to it by attacks to your opponent's Pokemon. This is a card you can play. It's not super good in the deck. You can't use Ends PPF or Night Stretcher there, but it's fine, I suppose, in Ends, but not too much to say about that deck there. Then we see the next deck here. This is the Phantom Hide deck, or the Ghost Veil deck, which pretty much the idea, if you're not familiar, is there's a bunch of Pokemon. There is Banette, there is Shuppet, there is Sinistra, there is Poltergeist, and the one that is the stage 1, I always get confused because they're swapped with the Sinistian Poltergeist. But the Sinistra has an attack if you have 6 or more Pokemon in the discard with the ability that, by the way, the ability protects you from like bench damage counters, or effects of attacks and like damage counters and stuff like that, which stops some of the stuff Dragapult's doing, but it's not stopping the main stuff Dragapult's doing, or like half the stuff Dragapult's doing. So it's not a hard counter to Dragapult, or really much of a counter at all for Dragapult, because you don't want to play those cards because you want them in the discard. But if 6 or more in the discard, then you can attack with the Sinistra, which does, I believe, 40 to all your opponent's Pokemon in the form of damage counters. Then you have the main Pokemon, which is the Delmise, or the main Pokemon you're attacking with, which is the Delmise. For 1 Psychic, you do 170 if you have 4 more Pokemon in the discard with that ability name, which isn't that hard to do. Also, we see Patrat. I feel like Patrat's a Pokemon that, I certainly haven't played. I don't think I've played against yet either, though I don't really play much Monkey Dory. I play it some, but not less than average, I'd say. Shaman, also another card here. I'm generally not a huge fan of these like techie cards. We also do see the new supporter card Gwen, which we haven't seen in other deck lists so far. I do think I think it's a very good supporter. Alongside, I will let's say Explorer's Guidance as well. Also, which is good in this deck here. I think both those supporters though are legitimately very good supporters. I was playing like some Beedrill EX, and I was like, wow, I really want more than 4 draw supporters, more than Lilies, and you got supporters that are search supporters for Pokemon, which are okay, but you want a supporter that's like, oh, if my hand doesn't have name literally anything, right? Pokemon supporters, stadiums, whatever, that I can get them with this supporter potentially. And yeah, I think and I think also Explorer's Guidance do that. Yes, they have legitimate downsides, but they are both pretty good supporters in my opinion. And again, Gwyn is good. We also see Prism Tower, a cool card that is currently not really seeing too much play in standard, but with this deck, which is I do think it is a legitimate deck. It is definitely something that will be, I'd say, going up a little there in terms of its play. Also, as I said, this deck has, well, Mega Excadrill is the most played deck from the new set currently in Japan, which we will talk about. But the Phantom High deck has gone down a little in its plays, but that kind of makes sense because time's going on a little. It is the most hyped deck from the set, and I think it's okay. We look at like Mega Ninja EX. Mega Ninja EX is still sticking around some in Japan, which I do think it will stick around after Chaos Rising has been out for a little while. As I said, new decks do see more play than they probably should. And you look at like online tournaments, Mega Ninja is like it's not that good. I believe it's also the second most played deck in the game. It's not the second best deck in the game, but it's it's okay, and it could do some fun stuff there. But anyways, you're going to see that the deck's going to go down some in the future, but I think it's probably, I mean, I'd kind of compare it to Alakazam. It's, I'd say, a more fair single prize deck, but, applying early pressure, if you're familiar with the Lost Zone deck, it's doing some stuff like that. It definitely has some very clear parallels there. In terms of how similar it actually is, it's less similar than the parallels might imply, but it's still a decent deck. And again, it is arguably the main new deck there. Then we move on to the next deck, which is Mega Excadrill. Mega Excadrill EX, we need to talk about this card, slash deck, which is built around Mega Excadrill EX. Then with Matang. Matang, if you're not familiar, you look at the top 4 cards of your deck and accelerate metal energy you find there. It's not consistent as far as I'm aware. Decks don't play a way to guarantee hitting energies either, like Academy at Night or something like that. And they do run healing. They don't run tons of healing, though. Actually, they run pretty little. We see some damage reduction as well with some of these cards. So you'd see some defensive stuff, and you do have a good chunk of HP, but I mean, actually, no. I thought it was 350. 340, I mean, it's not that much less, but you're not some crazy tank. I mean, you're 20 more than Dragapult, and sure, Dragapult's like it's relatively tanky, and you also have a better weakness here, but this card isn't some crazy tank. And then there's attack here. You have Digging, which is for 2 metal, 90 mil 2, which I think is pretty bad. Then you have Maximum Drill, which is 200 for 3. 200 for 3 is also pretty bad. I mean, you look at Dragapult EX, which does 200, and 200 is not the reason why it's good. The reason why it's good, I mean, that's part of why it's good, but it's also a little bit cheaper here. Not that much cheaper, admittedly, Dragapult, compared to this. And it is a stage 2, but it is a card with a good draw engine and bench damage, and overall just like versatile. Not really weaknesses there. Literally, I suppose, no weakness, though, obviously. You look at Clefairy's, Liz Clefairy EX, and that card is for a weakness, but which I didn't mention, by the way. Liz Clefairy EX with Delmai's one-shots, Dragapult EX, and Liz Clefairy EX with, it's going to be very important for this deck here. You can do some good stuff with the math with, like, the Bayonet line or something as well on the previous evolutions, but you're going to, not be super tanky with Mega Excadrill, and the first attack, and then the first part of the second attack, neither of those are super good. But then you have, I'll call it a third attack. Essentially, it's going to be, I mean, it's the second attack, but if you have 2 more energy, which is 5, which is just 5 metal, there's no weird tricks they're pulling there. Do 130 more, so that's 330. 330 is one-shotting a lot of things. I guess it doesn't one-shot itself, but it does one-shot Dragapult EX, which is obviously good. But it's 5 energy. Like, yes, you can get a bunch of Batangs into play. I don't know, surely this deck seems really bad, right? Like, I mean, not really, really horrendously terrible, like unplayably bad, but no, Mega Extra is not that good, right? Like, are we seeing the same card? I feel like this card just isn't super good. Sure, yes, if it has 5 energy, it seems good, but like, it reminds me of, and we'll talk about Hydrapple. It kind of reminds me of Hydrapple, but it seems worse, I'd say. And I don't think Hydrapple's super good. I don't think many people think Hydrapple's super good. I remember I made a tier list video. I was like a little low on Hydrapple. I put Hydrapple below. Someone like commented, and this comment got not like a ton of likes, but a reasonable chunk of likes. And speaking of likes, you should like this video and also comment. But Excadrill, Mega Excadrill, it reminds me said kind of Hydrapple. They certainly have a lot of differences, but they have some similarities. And that deck is currently seeing less play than Marnie's. and it's fine. It's an okay deck. It's not a crazy good deck. And yes, Megastral is newer, but I don't know. I just don't really see what its strengths are. I mean, yes, its strengths are just a bunch of damage, but it's also very expensive. We see expensive big damage Pokemon all the time, and they're usually really horrendously terrible. Sometimes they're okay, and I'm trying to think of any that are actually good. Usually they're just like situationally okay. When we look at the decks and we see this single prize Metagross, the single prize Metagross, honestly, it does almost as much damage as well. Yes, it doesn't one-shot Dragapult, which is a big deal, but like it's a single prizer and it's 4 energy there. It's a stage 2. It definitely has downsides. I'm not saying Metagross is super good because it's not, but we see that and that's almost as good as Mega Excadrill EX, and then or maybe even better, honestly. And admittedly, Metagross is a pretty it's an above average card, right? But it's not a above average competitive card here. I mean, you could just play Metagross. I know some people have been playing that deck in Japan a little bit. And actually, this deck runs 4 Jumbo Ice Cream. I was saying that there wasn't that much healing. This deck runs 1. This deck runs. Oh, this one runs 4 and 2 AC's Tranquility. The other ones don't run too much defensive stuff there. I think leaning to the defensive stuff is fine. I mean, it's okay, but I thought Steve's Metagross EX was going to be really good, and I honestly feel like that does some similar stuff. Yes, it doesn't have the huge damage, but if you're looking at the defensive side, it has that even better there, and it has more versatility. This deck just doesn't really have versatility, and it doesn't have, I wouldn't say consistency. I mean, I've played some Metang. Metang's been a bit of a meme Pokemon. It seemed to play with Dialga V-Star. Dialga V-Star with Metang was okay. Um, Not performing at the level that people are playing Mega Excadrill at right now, I wouldn't say. But it was an okay deck, but it also an extra turn. So that was really good. I suppose for 5 energy, Mega Excadrill does more, but it's also a 3 prizer too, right? Like also seems bad, and you're not doing some weird sneaky prize stuff here where like, oh, you need to take 8 prizes. No, your opponent's probably just going to have to take 6 prizes. They can probably boss whatever they want and do whatever they want there. So overall, I just don't think it's super good. Yes, you can get a bunch of Matangs into play. This is an okay payoff for Matang, but I feel like Mega Excadrill EX itself isn't that good. I think the Matang stuff, Metagross is kind of good, things like that. Genesect DX certainly a good card, but I just think this deck is not good, and I would be shocked if it ends up as a long-term really good deck. But it is interesting to see that it's being played so much. Moving on, we see Hydrapple actually as the next deck. Hydrapple EX is a pretty cool deck, to be honest. I do actually like this. I will say, I know that the Celebi's been seeing a lot of play in the deck. I haven't really played too much with Hydrapple. I probably will play with it some more. But what exactly is the Celebi here for? I mean, yes, it gets the. I mean, I know it gets the stadium and also gets like the Pokemon. So I know like literally what it's there for, but it doesn't seem that good of a turn on play, and it does seem like Badoo is maybe better. I mean, Badoo's vulnerable as well. But I just noticed that as like a 2-of in a lot of decks as well, where it feels okay, but it feels a little high as a 2-of. I don't know. But anyways, you have Tiamat Dragapult EX and then the Hydrapple EX, which is capable of doing big damage paired with the Stadium. Which, by the way, this is like I guess it's not necessarily faster than Mega Excadrill. Theoretically, they're both as fast as turn 2, but this deck definitely can bounce back better, can be more, I'd say, explosive than Mega Excadrill, and can heal. It can also heal a bunch theoretically. I guess it's not healing a crazy amount, but it's healing a decent amount theoretically. And again, you're also not a 3 prizer, and also can I mean you can also do more damage as well theoretically. And Meganium is good. You do need a bunch of pieces here, but I think it's relatively doable. I don't think it's super easy to set up. I've played against this some, and it's fine. I think the deck's fine. You're capable of doing some nice stuff. Overall, I do like this deck. I will say more than the Arboliva deck. I think the Arboliva deck with Ogerpon is such a Arboliva instead of Hydrapple. I guess obviously the decks play differently, but with Arboliva EX, I just believe EX is a very good card. I've said that before, and the more I've played against the card, I haven't been playing with it more because, as I said, I don't think it's very good, and I don't like to play with cards I just don't think are super good or super fun. Not that I'm a hater on Arboliva, but I don't think it's like maybe I'm a hater, but in terms of how fun it is, I think it's moderately fun. And in terms of how good it is, I think it's not good because the first attack, which is the one you're using, doesn't do that much damage. I mean, it quite simply just doesn't do that much damage. It doesn't spread out quite as much as you want. I've been playing against it honestly quite a bit, and it's like super mediocre. Not that it's perfect, not it's like horrendously terrible. But anyways, I'm just kind of bashing Arboliva now, which isn't the point of this. Hydrapple though, cool, can do big damage, can do some cool stuff. Overall, relatively fun deck. I think it's fine. I think it's, okay, right? I don't think it's a lot better or worse than it's been in the past. I mean, obviously it's better with Force Vitality, right? But and Meganium as well. But since Meganium and Force Vitality have come out, I'm not like that much higher or lower on this deck than I have been in the past. I think it's fine, which is okay. A deck being fine is fine, and most of the decks, essentially all the decks that aren't Dragapult are fine, which is okay. There are different levels of fine, but Hydrapple is a decent one. Then we got Raging Bolt. Not too much to say on this deck either. Still good. This one's been one of the better decks since rotation. Not a deck I really play too much, but it's pretty good. It's a deck I will probably end up playing a bit more. I've always been a bit down on it because I think that Pressa's Vitality is legitimately very good, and that card rotating, I do think made the deck a lot worse, but a lot of decks got a lot worse with rotation. So, losing a main draw supporter is the case for decks. So, you live with it, hopefully. Or you don't. You just lose to Dragapult. But this deck can, one-shot Dragapult. Doesn't get one-shot by Dragapult. It's a pretty good deck. Then also you can do some fun stadium stuff. I haven't really done or seen people do fun stadium stuff. I haven't been playing tons of live. I've definitely been playing some live, and I don't think I've literally ever seen anyone Chien-Pao. Wait, that's Chien-Pao, right? Yeah, that's just a different art of Chien-Pao that I'm not used to. But yeah, definitely pretty cool. Then we got my Lucario, I guess cool enough as well. Interesting to see this tech option of this card bank here, which is like fighting and also psychic. You can do some wacky stuff. Good. Then we got Cynthia's here. Honestly, I think these two decks are still pretty similar on how good they are. They're fine. You can do some nice stuff. I will mention with Hydrapple being played more, Cynthia's is going to be in a worse spot. I think I've only actually played against Hydrapple not many times. And the first time I played against it was with Cynthia's, and I believe, beat it. I don't really know how that happened, but Cynthia's is pretty bad against Grass. And with Grass coming up and being played more, then that is going to be bad for Cynthia's. I don't think Cynthia's, in terms of how good it actually is, kind of ignoring the certain specific matchup stuff, is in like a better or worse spot there. And I don't think the new cards really matter too much for it. Then regarding... Also, okay, so I'm just looking through this. Why is there Relicanth? Is Relicanth for not for the Roselia? I suppose. I mean, it's not for anything else, right? That's an interesting option there. I guess I don't know. It seems really weird there, but I just saw that. And then, the Grass being better. I don't think Grass is actually like that much stronger than it has been in the past or anything like that. I just think people are playing it more, which again puts this in a worse spot. Then we have Alakazam here. We got Mega Greninja. I think Alakazam is kind of meh. C2 Cannon. This is a draw card every turn and an interesting attacking option. I don't think it's the best way to play it. I don't think 2 Cannon's super good. I think it's not very good. I don't think it's truly terrible, but I don't think it's super good. And I think it doesn't really help Alakazam too much, to be honest. I guess it can be used as an option. Your opponent's like walling Alakazam, which there are like so many ways to do, but I think this prize Alakazam is actually going to be, the non-ability Alakazam, which is a single prizer, but so is the main attacker. But I think that option is, it's just less deck space, quite simply. So I think that's probably a better option there. But then we also have Mega Greninja, which is fine. I've been playing it some. I want to play with it more. I have yet to play the Dunsparce build, actually. If you know me, you know I'm a little lower on Dunsparce. I've actually gotten a little higher when playing it with Beedrill, and I'm like, oh wow, this is pretty good. Maybe it's just because I'm lower on Arboliva, and so I think the Arboliva build is worse than the Dunsparce build. Though I do think Arboliva EX in Beedrill makes some amount of sense. Then we have the next deck, which is, I guess, the last one, which is Team Rocket's B2, or Team Rocket's, whatever. It's fine. I've talked about this deck some in the past, and we got this deck, which I've talked about some in this video. We got Slowking, which is funny. There is a promo Mega, which is cool, I guess. It's fine-ish in the deck. It's a little bit of a weird card. Then we also see Barney's, which is fine. Mega Venusaur, which I guess is fine. It's not a very good deck. We got Ogre Pawn Box or whatever, Slot Box, whatever you want to call it. It's fine. And yeah, that's what you're looking at there. Overall, the metagame, the main things to talk about are, honestly, the big thing is Mega Excadrill, and I still want to hear your thoughts in the comment section if you haven't left a comment on about it so far. I don't know. Am I missing something? Like it doesn't seem super good. And oftentimes I get comments by people who are like, "Wow, this card that is like super hard to set, like expensive, big. There are lots of big, expensive Pokemon, and I get comments and people are like, "Wow, this is gonna be crazy good." Some of them are like in idealized situations with like Mega Meganium EX, which is like a worse Hydrapple realistically. Can be bigger, can be stronger, but realistically, it's gonna end up as a worse Hydrapple Synth with like Swine EX, Mega Manectric EX. These cards that, like, honestly, Mega Manectric EX very similar to Mega Excadrill EX, and it's been bad. And people were like, "Yeah, that card's gonna be so good." And I haven't heard people say Mega Excadrill is gonna be good. And usually people overhype cards. I overhype cards, right? And this card hasn't been hyped, and now it's doing well. It's very strange. Kind of reminds me of Mega Starmie some, which was kind of flipped on. Same thing with Mega Absol. So maybe this is just a thing with the Mega era. People are sleeping on cards, and they're just a lot better than we think. I don't know, but tell me in the comment section your thoughts there. Also, huge shout outs to my YouTube members for supporting the channel, and everyone who likes the video and subscribes and just watches to the end. So I really appreciate all of you. And again, you can like and subscribe. It's just free, helps out. I really appreciate it. But I hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I'm excited to see you in the next video.